He got himself like a German bathing robe on in the morning. Oh my god, and a tea.
Hey,
What
I
do you mean?
respect that.
A German bathing robe. I think it's just a normal bathing robe.
Bathing robe.
Oh god. I mean, if Saint One pops up in a traditional Korean costume, I'm gonna be surprised.
No, I'm
Ah,
here.
There he is.
hello.
Hi.
Now we can
Just
hear
in
you.
my bathing robe.
Are you serious? Are you in your bathing robe?
Yeah, a bathing robe too.
Okay. Well, that calls for a celebration.
All right.
Oh my god, we're actually just gonna do bathing robe stream. Let's fucking go, actually.
Hello everyone, welcome to the first episode of The Ark. I shamelessly titled this podcast The Ark just to sound very fancy and nice. In reality, we're just a few guys in bathing robes, except Saint One. He was also in a bathing robe, by the way. If I decide to cut that out, I'm gonna have that picture forever, that video forever on my PC now. Today, guys, we're gonna talk about several topics that I have prepared here. I'm sorry I'm looking that way a little bit because I'm reading. The lack of Lost Ark at Gamescom. Personally, I know I'm in the wrong here, but I'm a little bit upset about that. Then we're gonna talk about Lost Ark's Western release so far, stuff that has happened just to get going the first episode of the Ark. And after that, we have the starting classes for the Western release of Lost Ark. We're gonna discuss them. I'm gonna ask these lovely people their opinion on why there is no Destroyer and Arcana, or why these selections of classes have been added for our Western release. Then attempting to create a class tier list for PvE content. This has never been done in the history of Lost Ark, and probably we're not going to be able to do it here either. Discussing Typhoon's PvP tier list. There is a video circulating around, a pretty nice video actually, also linked in the description, where Typhoon, which is one of the 3 people who won the first esports official tournament in Korea. I believe he was playing a Bard, right? The Bard. I don't hear you.
Yeah, you're muted.
Oh, yeah, so that's right. He played Bard, so his team was Lancemaster, Zerg, and Bard, and that's the team that actually won
Right.
the Royal Roaders tournament, which took place about almost 2 years ago now.
So Typhoon, this person who played the
1
Bard,
year ago.
was interviewed by a Westerner to create this PvP tier list. We're going to discuss that one also. And lastly, some closing thoughts. I want to ask all of these nice gentlemen why they like Lost Ark, and one advice for new players that they would like to give. So, first of all, hello.
Hello, how you doing, man?
What's up, guys?
Hello.
I think I talked a little bit too much at the beginning. We're gonna fix that for the next one.
It's alright. We gotta have a bit of an intro, and now we can just talk and chill. Yeah.
No
Hello,
Lost Ark.
moderator.
No Lost Ark at Gamescom. I just want to get into this, and I just want to actually express my sadness towards this, because even though I know it wasn't announced that it would be there, and even though it's my fault for expecting it to be there, I get it. I'm just a little bit... I just cannot help to feel a little bit disappointed that we're not taking every opportunity that we have to promote the game somehow. And I want to ask you guys, why do you think the game wasn't there? I know it wasn't on the list, I know all the memes, but why not? Am I wrong to expect that the game I like should be promoted everywhere, especially because we're like 3 months tops to release this fall?
Yeah, it's a little complicated. Honestly, I'd even call into question whether or not we are going to be releasing this fall, especially given the delay that New World has gotten recently. It seems that Amazon Studios is having some problems of getting their games out. It is a little bit frustrating, you know. I guess we all got bamboozled when we saw, you know, hey, Smilegate Entertainment's going to be there, but it's not Smilegate RPG, so that's not really Lost Ark. And you know, we had all the little rumors circling around beta that was going to be in like the end of July, and now we're pretty much almost in September. Still no beta, still no announcement. There was that leaked trailer that came out on Reddit just the other day. teasing, a beta that was beginning of this month, start of August. That didn't happen as well. They've been very, very quiet, I think, with a lot of the Lost Ark news. And I don't see why they wouldn't be capitalizing all these opportunities to market the game if they didn't think that they need to put a lot of work into it, or they want to stretch out the timeline a little bit more, because you want to really have that hype period where you get people really, really excited. You don't want to just keep dangling the bait in front of them for months and months and months at a time. So I think maybe the reason why they kept it out is, I don't know, may call into question the release dates or the timelines that they have for the game.
I know I call Saintone, I call him Saint One. That's wrong. Right? It's Saintone.
You can call me whatever. You can call me by my real name. You can call me Pat if you want. That's fine too.
Pat. I'm gonna call him Saint. So Saint knows a little bit more than we do, I believe. I always, when I get frustrated, I go to Discord and I chat with Saintone, and he always calms me down. So I want to hear your opinion. Why not at Gamescom? Were we not ready with something else, a different trailer, more news, or why not at all?
First and foremost, I gotta say, I can't say that I've seen a game studio that has had to market two MMORPGs simultaneously before. I think historically, when I look back, I can only think of game studios that have only focused on one MMORPG launch at a time, and never, it's the case of New World and Lost Ark, of course. New World coming out a little bit sooner than Lost Ark, and New World having gone through not one but multiple closed betas already, whereas Lost Ark has only gone through its one in alpha. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are really disappointed that there wasn't any news about it at Gamescom. We saw it coming already, since there was no representation in the attendee list, and only Smilegate Entertainment was there, and we know that Smilegate Entertainment is not Smilegate RPG, nor did it make sense for Smilegate to present on behalf of Amazon at Gamescom either. For me, of course, there's a little bit more of a it's less frustrating since I'm an active player already, so I'm not waiting day in and day out for the game. But nonetheless, they have been very quiet, as Lin has mentioned. They have mentioned numerous times now that they would be actively communicating with us, and while there has been a lot of communication, it's very empty. It's just filler, stay tuned, that meme that keeps floating around and that kind of stuff. I think that the delay of New World does not actually affect Lost Ark. That's my personal opinion. I had to put a disclaimer there that I don't actually know, and that I haven't actually been in communication with Amazon since I did the whole bit for them. And
I was joking with you knowing more, of course.
No insider knowledge.
You believe how many people are adamant that me and people like that, mods and Bike Man, know the when it actually is coming out, but we don't actually know.
No, I mean, at this point, I'm pretty sure that nobody knows anymore, because even like Lin-0 was mentioning, that mod's leaking, the fact that at the end of July he was really sure, he said it in a very confident way, at the end of July there's going to be a beta for Lost Ark. I think they had that initially planned somehow, or maybe it was at the beginning of August, like in those videos, but that didn't happen. And I want to get Wilky's take also on this. And by the way, I just forgot. I just remembered right now that I only introduced Lin-0. I didn't introduce. Right. I didn't introduce Saint One. I didn't introduce Wilky. Holy cow! This episode is going so poorly. I don't even think I should do it right now, because I think it's gonna be very cringe. Regardless, two legends, Wilky and Saint One to my right and to the top. Right now, I believe. This is my feeling, that Smilegate is somehow feeding Amazon info and trailers, and these class trailers that we see running around. These are from Smilegate. They make them, and Amazon is just pushing things out as they're receiving them, because I don't think, and I've never seen in my life, a publisher of a game when the release keeps being in all of those trailers fall 2021, which is at latest 30th of November this year, so 3 months from now. I've never seen a publisher, let's say so little, or be able to say so little about anything that they're being asked, from the cash shop to any other classes. By the way, we had Striker being leaked in a picture of a costume.
Yeah, I think they wanted that to happen though. I think they knew what they were doing with that. It's a little bit of like maybe trying to generate a little bit of hype or something, but
I don't think that was on purpose.
I mean,
think that they did that on
Oh my
accident.
god.
You think they really just leaked the Striker on accident?
I don't think that they realized it when it was approved to go out. And also those
Wow.
class trailers, they're almost definitely made by Amazon.
I agree.
I've worked in game publishing before for MMORPGs, and those kinds of trailers are usually made by the publisher, not by the developer.
Yeah, not even that. Like you look at G-Star, for example, all the trailers that Smilegate RPG has pumped out in Korea, they're really, really high quality. Whereas the trailers that Amazon have pumped out, they seem a little bit off. You know, we just got the Sorceress trailer very recently, and that was amazing. And then we get these trailers for the classes, which are just like, hey, look, it's Rhapsody of Light. We're gonna cast this skill 4 times now, and it's a bit.
The editing is
It's really
phenomenal
good.
in the
It
new
is.
in the Amazon trailers, but I
It
feel
is.
like the focus of what they're trying to show is a little off the mark. Like someone who doesn't know a lot about the game is making them.
Well, my thought exactly with the editing. That's why I thought Smilegate is making them, because Amazon has to have access to some sort of different camera views where they cast their skill, or are they doing it in selfie mode?
Yeah,
or
a dev build. Yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah.
so you think they already have access to this dev build?
Yes.
Okay, so this makes things 10 times worse for me, because so far I would have blamed Smilegate for the lack of stuff, but right now, hearing that you guys think that Amazon actually is doing these trailers also, so basically they're doing everything we're getting, which is almost nothing, this actually scares me. You know, I have a post here in front of me. I'm gonna show it in post after I edit this, because I cannot just drag stuff over the cameras. But I have a post here that is a little bit strange when you read it. So the post is titled "Calm Down, Here is What's Happening." So a user on Steam is saying that basically Lost Ark, he's doing a roadmap of what's happening in Lost Ark. Basically Lost Ark is being on purpose put aside because of New World, and I kept having people telling me this, but I am unable to believe that this would actually be the case. Like you take the publishing rights for an MMORPG, and then you purposely not do things for it, no commercials, no nothing. Because to me, just one last thought, to me it's such a big disconnect in between how Amazon treats their own game, which I believe they don't treat it like that because it's their game. I believe they treat it like that because they have access to everything in that game, all of the news, all of the builds, they can do whatever they want to do with it, and how they treat Lost Ark, which is something that's in the hands of Smilegate in my head, but you guys appear to be saying otherwise. It's just such a big difference in between these two, which they don't have a similar release date. Apparently Amazon Games New World is 28th of September and Lost Ark is fall, which can also be September, October or November. But I cannot believe that the same game studio is treating these two games differently just because New World is here. This guy was saying that also Lost Ark's release might be postponed because Amazon Games doesn't really care. They postponed New World also 3 times. So
I don't think they postpone it because they don't care, and I don't think there's this whole New World's their baby, they want to get that out, that's a game that they're focusing. I don't believe that. I think Saintone said, I don't think New World delays impact Lost Ark delays. I think they're separate teams, different people working in different projects. I do think though that Amazon is a relatively new player in the MMO publishing scene. It's not like we can say many good things about other MMO publishers, especially in the EU area. But I think it's something that they're kind of still trying to get down and trying to understand how how they're going to be doing that. And also, it's much easier to do stuff for New World because they own everything to do with New World, right? If you're going to be releasing something for Lost Ark, sure, you may have access to a dev build, you have all the people working on localization, making sure that everything's looking pretty, but everything is still going to be in communication with Smilegate RPG, right? They're going to need to, there's that whole bureaucratic process that's going to be taking place, and that obviously is going to be delaying things. How much is Astalgia's update coming out and the changes that they've made in KR probably going to be affecting the release of EUNA? How is that going to be influencing the players? Are there any specific changes that they have to make? What's the feedback that they've received from the Korean community when it comes to that? Should they release it earlier? Should they release it later? What patch are we going to be getting? And all these different things, I think they come together and it makes it a little bit harder for them to be as open with the game as they have been with New World, because there's more uncertainty when you have two parties working together in the same game, I think.
Also, there was this Lost Ark terms being banned in Gamescom chat.
That cracked me up. That cracked me up so much. I think that was just an accident.
That's not related to
I think people are way too reactive onto that because they think it's like, oh, we're not talking about this. I think it was just because it was either getting obnoxious or people... It could have been turned into a very toxic situation. So I actually think they did the right thing, just removing potential pitfalls for them.
Yeah, I think it was just like an
with...
automated spam filter or something. I think that's what they said in the Steam post. It's just people just saying it so much that they kind of cut it out by accident.
Into their blacklist of words once it got out of hand.
Yeah, I mean,
I worked at Twitch back in 2016 as one of their admins, and I think back then we had been contracted to moderate Nintendo's Pokemon marathon. They did like a marathon of the movies on Twitch. Same thing, it's just like if there was any sort of particular spam, regardless if you knew what it was or not, you just chuck a word from it in the blacklist just to stop it. So I don't think that the whole Gamescom like censoring the word Lost Ark was any bit related to Amazon.
I mean,
it's funny as hell, but
I watched the streams. I actually went back when I heard this and watched all the 3 days. It was a horrendous experience, by the way, to watch the same games every day, hoping for something about Lost Ark. It was just awful. But I didn't really see that time when Lost Ark was actually being banned, so it must have been for just a short duration. But they're just saying, like, what a coincidence, what a cherry on the cake for those of us who are waiting for so long. In terms of news, it's dry as a camel's rear end, and then they also go ahead and ban the words Lost Ark, adding them to this bucket list of hate words, curse words. It's just Lost Ark also, alongside with fuck, shit, and God knows other words. Anyway, and the thing that people are so desperate calling out Lost Ark to the point where it gets banned. This for me is just goes to show the overall vibe of the majority of the people in the community. Anyway, I guess we also went into point number 2 with Lost Ark's release so far. I just wanted to mention a couple of things that have happened. So we didn't really touch upon this Striker leak. I mean, we did a little bit. It was leaked in a picture. So the Striker, for those of you who are new, the class Striker was leaked in a costume preview picture that we were given to see what we're getting in terms of costumes for our Founders Pack purchases. And this in itself is a little bit kappa and something that I really want to talk about. The fact that we are, two and a half months into the release or into the announcement with the Founders Pack, and we still don't have I don't remember last time I purchased a Founders Pack for an MMORPG. Maybe it was with Terra, but maybe you guys remember. Shouldn't there be some links to like a costume or how the mount looks? The mount is still in development, by the way. We have had a sneak peek, a preview of it, and you cannot really expect a new player when he wants to buy Lost Ark, a Founders Pack, to go in the news section of the website and start searching if there's any articles showing me what I'm getting. This is bizarre. Why is this happening then? Is it again Amazon or is it Smilegate this time?
I don't think it's necessarily an Amazon thing. I bought a lot of Founders Packs when I was younger, quote unquote, when I was still more faithful in MMORPGs. I'm just gonna bring, for example, the Black Desert one. This is the last big one that I actually founded. We didn't even have any images or anything. We just literally had like text, pretty much exactly the way Amazon's doing it, where it's just like shown, you get a tier 3 horse, and that's it. That's all we knew. We didn't know what color, and believe it or not, in BDO, if you ever played it, it actually mattered what kind of color code the horse had. So this was sort of vital information to have. Alongside with, you just get a pet, you get an outfit. We didn't know what the outfit was going to look like. We didn't know what the pet or anything was going to look like. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. I do agree, though, that especially for new people, if they never played a Lost Ark or aren't in touch of them, that it's a bit lackluster, because you just have a bucket list of like 30 or 40 entrances of like potions, consumables, silvers, potions. As a new player, you have absolutely no idea what the value of these things is. I mean, this is also why we make this video, so people that are like interested, should I buy this? What's in there for me? But I don't necessarily think it's just Amazon's doing it. At least the founder packs that I have bought in the past were similar to that. I do agree, though, that other games, like for example Warframe, I think like 10 years ago when this launched, when they had a founders pack, it was vastly different. But I think it's more about how the company is willing to share what they got in order to kind of like hook people into it. I mean, they have given us now the art style of the outfits and the not so great looking mount, I gotta admit that, but we know what the pet looks like, so I think this is also going in a good direction to at least give some kind of information to the players, so they know they're not like just buying the cat in the sack and it's like, will I even like what I'm getting?
Yeah, I think it is a mix of the two. It's not particularly the faults of Smilegate or Amazon that there's a lack of information. I mean, we still don't even know the value of the royal crystals, by the way. That being said, I really think that Amazon tried very hard to make it to the summer show as a major marketing beat, as you know, the biggest opportunity to showcase Lost Ark's announcement to the most amount of people. But it was very evident that Smilegate had not finished a lot of these assets for the Western release, whether it's the costume or the pet or really many things. So I guess they wanted people to get excited for the Western release. They wanted people to start picking up the Founders Pack, but they did not yet have everything from Smilegate, so the best that they could give us was, you know, just wait, we'll have pictures of these very soon. And admittedly, when they finally did have pictures, they weren't particularly flattering. I mean, the pet is really nice. I'm very envious of the pet, by the way. You know, like the mount, for example, there's some people who dislike it, and especially they'll look at like the JP release, and the Japan release had incredible launch everything, whether it's the costumes, the mount, the pet, everything. But you know, when they showcased all these things, they did it in a very, you know, eloquent way that looked great, not like a static in development picture with no motion, 3 stiff looking heads, and it just didn't look good.
I'm just so
I understand.
I'm just so pissed off that we in the West are getting the best release ever for Lost Ark in terms of content and balance and what we're getting, which side of the game, and the things that we're getting also in the game at start. It's just so much better than any other release, but it's done in such a detrimental way to like people don't understand how cool it is what we're getting. And I can talk about it and laugh and yell and scream about it all I want, but that doesn't change the fact that on the official side of things, I don't know, maybe it's just me that I want too much. I'm too used to how Korea does it when they release a costume, they also even go to the lengths of telling you if it's tradable or how long can you get it, stays in your inventory and stuff on the website if you click a little magnifying glass there. So I don't know, maybe that's the thing, but I just wished that we would be ready also in the West with more things, that we would give. I don't know what I wish. I just wish that it would be better, because we're getting such a cool release of the game, but it's overshadowed by sexual harassment in World of Warcraft and I don't know, Guild Wars 2 End of Dragons and New World this, New World that. Luckily, the game is carrying a little bit of its own weight just because the game is cool as you just look at it in a video. God forbid if the game would be a little bit, not that cool, then it would be really in the ground. But I don't know. I'm just waiting for the time, the week when Amazon Games is gonna start pumping out like every 2 days a poll. What's your favorite class? Do you want how would you name your cat? And these kinds of things all together. More details about the game. I want to see that community manager again. I like that show where Saintone was in it with the community manager and the other 2 streamers. I want to see the community manager again. Where is he? I want to meet the game director. Or the localization, whoever is the boss of Lost Ark in the West. I want to get a connection with him. I want to see what he has to say. A picture of the Amazon office working on translations or voiceovers or whatever. Some of these things, what's happening? This is why, anyway, just a little bit. I just want more. We're apparently so close, and I'm just.
It's understandable. I mean, we're automatically going to compare how much effort they're putting into New World with how much effort they're putting into Lost Ark. Because again, this is like the only studio that I know of that's doing 2 major MMOs within a really similar time frame. But if you look at it, I don't think there's been a ridiculous amount of advertisement for New World back when it was in its alpha. I really feel like they've only started putting a lot of effort into marketing the game only after its first or second closed beta. So I would have a really strong expectation that between that period of Lost Ark beta and Lost Ark release, that they would do a better job of marketing the game and giving us information. I think it's just we see what they're doing with New World and we're like, okay, why aren't you doing this for Lost Ark? But maybe if there was no New World, it would be a similar situation where between alpha and beta, they wouldn't be doing a whole lot.
Yeah, it's probably true as well. There was an NDA on the technical alpha, and they must have put that in place for a reason. They would want people to be talking about the game, hyping it up, word of mouth, and I think they're not doing that because, as you say, right, it's gonna be that beta to release period, making sure that the beta is practically gonna be an early access, I think, at this point. So they really need to have everything polished and done to its high standard if they want to start showing that across. Yeah.
And by the way, I wanted to say regarding this Amazon people and nothing from them, that I wrote an email just asking a couple of basic questions about the creator program that they have available, and I got a very nice person answering me, which turned out to be the lead of this content creation program. Maybe by coincidence I got him and not just maybe a support person or whoever they have in charge replying to these questions. He was really nice. He was a really nice guy, but again, the same kind of attitude, like very reserved, yeah, this was basically what
I mean, they probably can't say much at this point. I think they're still ironing out all the details. The content creator program is also very vague, right? The whole thing, it was announced and everyone's like, oh, okay, everybody has to apply. Let's apply early. How many subscribers do you go? What kind of content do you do? How often do you publish your content? And then literally 10 minutes later, it's like, hey, if you applied, you got accepted. And it's like, oh, that's awfully kind of you. But at the same time, it's a little bit strange, right? It's they haven't really given too many details about what exactly the content creator program is, or how they're going to be supporting people with that, or what exactly the relationship is going to be between content creators and the publisher. So I think they're still very tight-lipped about everything because they just haven't gotten to figure it out yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're probably going to do like a second layer of content creator program, because like you said, literally everybody that streams like once a week or has like 2 videos on their YouTube channel, they pretty much got accepted into the content creators program. So I think it's going to be like when you're a bit more than just your average streamer, YouTuber Andy with like 5 viewers or something, they're probably going to put you into like a separate bracket. Like it's not going to be very clear for us on the external side, but I think internally they're going to tier people up into like, this is like the fodder, they're just playing the game. Maybe if we give them like a Twitch outfit or something, they're going to be happy, and then there's going to be people who's like a little bit more dedicated or have a bigger leverage or something. Like, I mean, like, look, you're gonna get like cash up currency, or you're gonna be allowed to participate in events or something like that.
Maybe. I
So-
wonder if they're even going to be doing that, because it's always very complicated when you're doing content creator programs, because suddenly the person that you're sponsoring with your content creator program becomes the face of your community, right? So it may be that Amazon may not even want to take any risks with that. So they're like, hey, everybody's part of the content creator program, so we hold no responsibility if someone does something bad, right? So it may be that they might go with that route. We can't really tell. It's a bit of a hands in the air situation, sadly.
But speaking of founders packs, I forgot to ask you guys really quickly, which founder pack, in your opinion, is the best founder pack? I'm just gonna start quickly myself. I found actually at the end of deliberating with myself that the $25 one is actually pretty nice, and I actually bought 2 of those myself, just because it gives you the beta, the head start, the pet, and the consumables. I thought it's really nice.
So you can choose my questions, because I plan on whaling massively for costumes. So to me, platinum is the answer, because I want all those costumes. I want the costumes for all my old characters. And you know, it's the whole thing. You can't buy multiple platinum packs. You know, you have your costume has to go on only one character. And I think they even said, you know, if people had bought multiple tiers of packs, right? If you buy gold, platinum, for example, the new outfit that they're creating specifically for the gold pack that's also present in the platinum pack. They said, you know, these outfits wouldn't stack, so you're not going to get 2 copies of the outfit if you buy both of the packs. And I was thinking, like, damn, you know, I want more outfits. I want my characters to look pretty, and you can't buy multiple founders packs. I was feeling a little bit down about that. But here, telling me you buy multiple founders packs, I'm assuming it's like on different accounts, right? Different Steam accounts. Yeah. Amazon, please let me buy multiple pre-order costumes.
Let's be real. Like 90% of people who buy those founders packs, they're not gonna be wearing that outfit within like a couple of months of the game release, especially with like Halloween probably being around the corner of the game release.
Dude,
Halloween costumes probably coming out.
Good. Yeah, the Halloween and the Christmas costumes, the seasonal costumes that Lost Ark does are so good. But to be honest, there's lots of cool mix and match that you can do with a lot of the Founders Pack outfits. And a Blaster, for example, or Artillerist, right, which is a class that I play pretty often. The weapon from the Founders Pack is hands down, in my opinion, the best Artillerist weapon there is. So you bet I'm gonna be using that weapon in pretty much every single costume. But then that means I gotta sacrifice, you know, Summoner outfit, and I gotta sacrifice, you know, all the different pieces from all the different costumes that I wanted to mix and match with. And
just bikini and the artillerist weapon. That's
I think the game will come out right after the whole summer period, so people will have to wait a little while.
A year,
bikinis.
So what's your favorite gold pack, Founders Pack, Saintone?
I mean, I'm a big advocate of people just spending within their means, so you just buy whatever is convenient for your financial situation. But I've seen a lot of people say that the gold pack is the best for the value, as far as what you're spending. I don't know I don't know if that's true or not. I never sat down and like calculated it. But honestly, if you're someone who's planning on playing this game for any semblance of time, more than a few months, they're all good value for what they actually give, assuming the Royal Crystal cost and value is what we think it is. I mean, we would assume that 7,000 Royal Crystals is probably around $70, but
that's the equivalent of 70,000 in Korea. I mean, so it's obvious that it should be like that. No other way. I mean, they're not gonna give you $7 of
yeah, that would be weird.
I think it's like that with a lot of the other Founders Packs too, right? Like Blade and Soul, for example. The cash shop currency that you get usually is how much you would have gotten if you paid for it regularly. So if the Founders Pack is like $70, you'd get, you know, $70 worth of currency plus all the other goodies, for example. That's usually how it tends to go, just slightly lower.
What about Wilky, your favorite Founders Pack?
I think in terms of value, if we're looking at that, I think actually the bronze one holds the biggest value, and I think they're also doing a good stuff or a good thing, like allowing almost everybody to buy in at least a little bit if they decided to. But outside of that, I did actually make a video talking about the things, which obviously is like more at face value, knowing what the in-game items are worth, at least on the Russian server at the moment. So I did a little bit of a breakdown. I do think that in terms of value, the most that you're getting out of is from the Platinum Pack. Although that like highly depends on how much do you value costumes. Like for Lin-0, for example, it's a very big part. For me, it's like more like Saint said. I'm probably not going to wear the outfit for a very long time because the next better thing that comes along is probably just going to replace it. So the outfit is more like a convenience thing because I have it from the get-go and I don't have to worry about it early on, even though it doesn't really matter early on because that 4% attack power what we're getting doesn't really make a difference during leveling at least. So I do think, or at least personally for me, the plat one is the best one, but I also gotta jump in on that, what Saint said, like, people should spend what's within their reach. If you can't afford to shell out $100 for a game, then you know that you're gonna play it for more than like the 2-week starting period and then not just drop it. Just buy whatever you want. And all of these packs are, I think, fantastic in terms of what you buy and what you get is everything has more value in it than what the price tag is.
Yeah.
So I think they did a really good job at not making it like an extreme difference between, oh, you gotta buy plat because gold is gonna be absolute dog shit compared to plat. So I think that's a pretty good step there that they're not alienating players and still allowing almost everybody to cash in if they want to.
Yeah, they did good with the packs. They included nice items in it in general. Cool. Let's move to the hard part of this show, which is I just wanted to create this PvE class tier list with you guys. Now, I know, I'm very aware that you should never create a PvE class tier list, and probably we might not make it. But I was thinking more in general to give an overview, maybe to now that I'm talking, I'm actually thinking it's not such a good idea to even start this. What do you think, Saintone? Should we do it? Should we attempt?
I'm personally not keen on PvE tier lists.
Yeah.
I feel very responsible for like potentially influencing other people if I make one of those kinds of things. So I always shy away from it whenever possible.
Yeah, I actually
I think it's okay for PvP to make a tier list. That's fine because there is like probably an actual tier breakdown of what's good and what's not depending on the situation. But you know, we're 3 years into the service into Korea, and there were times where classes were clearly overpowered and classes were clearly underpowered throughout those 3 years, even very, very recently with the whole debacle with Reaper being hilariously overtuned. But right now, in this present moment, the game is the best balanced it's ever been in 3 years in PvE, to the point where there's not a single class among the 21 classes that anyone would omit from a party just because someone is playing that class. And that won't last forever, I'm sure. There will probably come a time where, you know, there's something overpowered or overtuned again, like what we had with Destroyer and its gravity compression build, just destroying bosses almost instantly. And I just don't want people to have this stigma against a particular class.
What about we do just 2 tiers, S and A?
I think it's complicated to do that too as well, right? Because when you're doing a tier list, are we basing it on KR patches? Because that's completely different, right? Are we gauging how good is a class of like average shield rate, for example? But is that the patch that we're going to be having in E1A? Even if we have the same client, the sets are going to be different, right? The gear that people are going to be getting for their characters isn't going to be the same. So we have to factor in with the whole in T1, T2 revamp that they did with Nostalgia. If we're going to be getting that. What would the tier list be in that regard? Which is not something that people have gotten to think about it too much, because Russia and Korea are in such different patches than what we're not even patches, but level of content that we're going to be getting. And I think that the end game content that people are going to be doing is what's going to be influencing. This is strong, this is weak, and the fact that we're just going to be so wildly different is very difficult to speak about it without the bias from hey, this is what's strong in my region. Kind of influencing what would come into NAEU, which I think would be very different.
Okay, so so we're not gonna do a tier list for PvE content, because obviously it's just simply too hard to make a tier list. What are you gonna add in S tier? Bard, Holy Knight, Gun Lancer. Then there's other tiers also. It's just gonna, like Saintone said, gonna create confusion. And okay, so we're gonna skip that part. What I do want to ask, speaking about the classes, is the class, first of all, what class are you gonna main? What's the first class that you're gonna create on the Western release?
Pain is my class, considering I was an Arcana main, and now Arcana is not getting released. That is how I feel. Probably I'm just gonna make lots of classes. No real main until either Arcana or Sorceress kind of come out, and just multi-class and play whatever is what I'd probably do.
Right, but of course, Lin is mostly speaking from a PvP kind of player perspective.
I'm sort of like in between. I think I also PvP, just not nearly as much as Lin does. I'm in the same boat though, because Lancemaster or Spear. What is the name they have given us? I forgot already. Glavier. Excuse me. This
wait,
is.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Glavier
That's
is
the name of Lancemaster.
How do you know that?
That was data mined.
How do you know?
2 months. 2 months
That
ago.
was the data mined name for Lancemaster. It's Glavier, and Arcana became Arcanist. And what else? Scouter became Machinist.
Oh my god. I mean, it's alright actually.
The scout name change is really good actually.
Yeah, Glavier is kind of a bit awkward, but
It's weird, but it also makes sense because she actually uses a spear and a glaive.
But yeah, it's a spear and a glaive, right?
She's called Lancemaster, but she doesn't use a lance.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe all those Reddit Twitter memes call her pole dancer and just be done with it. Maybe they were right all along. Oh my god.
But yeah, that's like the main problem for me, since Lancemaster Glavier, whatever the name is not going to be available. I'm contemplating of maining Infighter or Scrapper for that, because this is also one of my alts, or I will definitely try Striker in the upcoming beta. If I like it sufficiently enough, which probably is not going to happen because I didn't really like Battlemaster to begin with. So it may be changed to Striker. Or if we get the quality of life update for Deadeye, where you actually can refresh the buff. This is something the Koreans got recently. Because this was like my main gripe with the class, Devil Hunter, for those of you who ever played it with Deadeye. You can't refresh the engraving buff. So whenever the buff runs out, you have to reswap, or you have to like wait for the timer to disappear and then reapply it, and they now can just basically infinitely keep it up, which makes the class just so much more fluent and not like constantly looking at your buff bar. Okay, I have like 1 second of the buff, I can't really use any high hitting skills because I need to swap in between. So if we get that update, there's a 20% chance I may just roll Deadeye for PvE, even though it's a bit of a potion chugging class, and it's, you know, you gotta be a little bit wary on your toes if you're like sleepy or not playing to your full potential. It may cause some problems, but especially in tier 1 and tier 2 content, I don't think it's gonna be a main problem. But for now, it's like 70% Scrapper, potentially Striker, or Deadeye.
Well, you said also, Saintone, you said also that you're gonna create a character for NA as an alt, let's say. What's that gonna be? What class?
I'm a little up in the air on it right now. It's between two classes. It's either Artillerist or War Dancer. Artillerist because that's my go-to class for PvP. I'm an LTS frog, so I just sit in LTS all day, and I love playing Artillerist in there. But then there's War Dancer as well. And War Dancer, that choice, it's for a few reasons. First is because I'm the kind of person I'm sure there's some people who will be watching this that can sympathize, but I like picking classes that are a little less popular. War Dancer is definitely really down there and always has been, kind of overshadowed by the other fighters. But she's really fun to me in PvE and raiding. She's an agility-based class, so naturally she's a lot faster, which is useful for so many things, whether it's just doing your daily contents or life skilling or anything like that. And she is arguably one of the cheapest characters to make in the beginning, because she's the only class in the game that can get by without using a class engraving at all. Actually, no, Striker can do that too, but War Dancer is better known for that, so she's super cheap to gear up.
Okay, so you would also say that, let's say, a War Dancer is a good choice for beginners to Lost Ark, like new players?
Oh yeah, it's really straightforward. It's really easy. Some people might not like the auto attack. She auto attacks a lot. Some people might not like that. and they might find her rotation to be a little on the boring side, but to me, she's one of the most fluid classes to play in the game.
What do you think, Wilky? A class for new players? What would you recommend?
A class for new players, I think Scrapper is also a fairly straightforward class, outside of the fact that the mechanic, like the main problem I think, or I have with recommending classes to new players, is during the leveling process, almost every class feels vastly different, and in most cases just downright bad compared to how they play in late game. Infighter or Scrapper has a problem, you don't have enough skills to juggle the resources around. For Lance Master, it's the same problem, you can't really make use of the buff mechanic because you don't even have the specialty to stack it or the skills. Outside of that, I would always say play Berserker. There's no hate or anything else to play Berserker. I think it's a fun class, but it's just a bit of a simpler side. He just hits massively hard, and have a big hulking sword. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah. Well, what
so
about...
I think Berserker is probably one of the most suitable choices for new players.
What do you think, Lino? You tell me in terms of, let's say, a guy that wants to pick up PvP at end game. I'm just here to try.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, because I'm hearing like War Dancer and Scrapper recommendations. Like, oh my god, you want to play that on PvP as your first character? Good luck. These characters are pretty tough. They're incredibly fun to play, but also really difficult to pick up. They have a very, very steep learning curve. So if it's things that have a low skill floor, I think when it comes to skill ceiling, pretty much all the classes in the game are incredibly hard to master. It's in PvP, especially in 3v3 environment, it's really difficult to play every class at its highest level. When it comes to picking something up at a very base level, I think Bard is a really good class for beginners. You have a very clear goal, which is don't let your team die. So if you can just keep that in mind, it's less about tracking enemy rows and tracking cooldowns and trying to punish and going in and putting yourself at risk, and more, can I stay alive and can I stop my team from dying? If you can't do that, you're doing pretty good. You started off well. I think a class like Berserker has a pretty straightforward game plan. I think that works as well. It's very difficult to play at a high level, but when you're first getting to grips with the game, I think Berserker can teach you a lot about how to understand the fundamentals of PvP. How do you move? How do you engage? How do you manage your cooldowns? How do you manage your mana as well, which is something in PvP that Berserker actually has some issues with. So it's one of those classes that it's relatively easy to pick up, but it also teaches you a lot while you're climbing with it. And then there's lots of other classes. I think Summoner and Artillerist, I think they're pretty simple to pick up because they have clear game plans. Again, they start becoming a lot more difficult as you climb because they're classes that can be punished easily. But when you're first picking up the game, these kinds of classes have clear enough ways of playing that you can get used and accustomed to your own skills and other classes' skills while you're still getting to grips with the game.
Personally, I just want to say also, in case some of you who are watching are interested, I'm going to main a Summoner. That's my main. I decided this after actually playing all the classes on the Korean client. And I started also as an Artillerist, and I really love the class. It's definitely going to be my alt. But 3 Summoners is the way to go for me. And I think,
my god, 3 Summoners.
I actually have two. I actually am going to have 2 accounts. And I want to make 2 Summoners on each account, and then an Artillerist also on one of them, just to have more energy of how did they translate? Energy of work, I believe it's translated, to gather more plants and resources, make some gold. This is after the nerf that they had in Korea, which I believe is also the build that we're waiting for. That's why we don't have anything where the abyss things don't give gold anymore. So how are you supposed to make gold? Actually, maybe Saintone can. Did you play let's say the tier 1 part of the game again? How do you make gold in this?
So I really do think that it's not intended that you make a lot of gold in tier 1 and tier 2 anymore. And I think that the big thing about, after that update, which again, we don't even know if that is the update that NA and EU will start with. For all we know, it could be pre 7.7. That's what I keep calling this update, since it was on July 7th. But after that update, I think it was to combat inflation in Lost Ark, because currently that's an issue we deal with. It's a very big issue in Korea at the moment, where there's just so much gold being generated right now that everything is ridiculously expensive. And it's only getting worse with more and more players flooding in. And so I would imagine that the whole change to tier 1 and tier 2 is to combat this issue early on by making the gold income very low, but making the gold expenses even lower than that. I ran a bunch of numbers on the cost of upgrading when it comes to gold in tier 1 before and after. And after this update, the cost of upgrading is, I believe, like 90% less than what it was before, but the amount of gold that you're getting is also substantially less. I find that if you're going to make gold, you're going to be doing it mainly through your opponent tokens, which, I mean, you're planning on making more than one account, which I don't even know that's against the terms of service, but you know that is an advantage that you have along with the life skill energy of crafting. The random gold that you get from Chaos Dungeon, it's not a significant amount, but you know, throughout the entire player base, that will add up as people get it. And probably the most important thing that people need to learn how to do, which we do very regularly, is just knowing the value of items and being able to sell things on the auction house. I mean, I've received a lot of questions of people asking if it's a free market, if people can trade, if people can use an auction house, if people can mail items, and the answer is yes to all of those things. And you need to be able to understand that if you drop an item, you have to be able to evaluate its cost and know that you can sell it for gold because someone else needs it. But the thing about Lost Ark is that the odds of you dropping something that you yourself can use is extremely small. But the odds that you drop something that someone else can use is really high. So you just have to be able to recognize that, okay, I shouldn't dismantle this for one, you know, armor stone that's worth literally nothing. I could sell it to someone else for something like 50 gold, which in an early economy might be a lot.
Okay, so this is also basically, of course, a way of making gold is taking advantage of the people who deposit real money and do the gold exchange from the people who sell gold in game. Obviously, that's fine. And you also talked about the cost of upgrading, which was lowered. But of course, on top of the cost of upgrading in gold, there's also all of the other cool things that you can, or maybe you want to do with gold. I don't know, spend on the auction house, for example. So making a lot of gold obviously makes your life easier because you can buy your pots as opposed to crafting them, or all of these map completion items, or everything else basically that's being sold on the broker, something valuable to you. So that's why I was asking for more ways of making gold. But speaking about this accounts in Korea, I believe it's not allowed to have more than one account per your ID code or whatever you have there as a determining factor to create an account. But what do you guys think, Lin-0 and Wilky? I haven't heard of a rule on Steam that you cannot have more than one Steam account.
I'm not sure about Steam. This is again. When it comes to the Russian region, I have a few Russian friends. What they tell me, I'm not sure. I can't vouch for this because I don't really have any alt accounts. Is they're cool with alt accounts so long as you're not trading gold, essentially, right? So if you're using a secondary account to boost the progress of your main account, so you do like all of you used to do all of your abyss dungeons, and then you pass all that gold over to your main account, for example, then they don't like that. Then they might take action. But if you're just having alt accounts and it's just PvP Smurfs or low-level characters doing its own thing, then I don't think they particularly care. And I think that might be the same approach that they take with Steam.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that. I think Valve, in particular, doesn't have a problem with multi-accounting. It's a common practice in other games. If we take, like, example, CSGO, for example, there's so many people having alt accounts, Smurfs accounts, whatever. I do know a case in my guild, actually. I'm not going to call out any names. Where he did actually getting... No, it's not about calling out. He did actually got in contact because he is playing actively 2 accounts. He literally has like 2 PCs hooked up, which he's playing more or less simultaneously as you can play Lost Ark. And they said as long as like he's physically, literally playing and not just multi-boxing, botting or something those accounts, that they're fine. But if it's gonna be like excessive amounts of golds that are being transferred from one account to the other, they don't like that. I don't know if they don't like it because they can't really tell if it's like a gold seller or a bot farming or if it's like a real player. I think it might just punch into the line where it's like, oh, there's like 50k gold every week going from this account to that account. Is this dude like a player, or is he buying gold from RMT or something? I don't particularly think Valve would have anything against that, especially with the potentially reduced gold influx we may or may not have. This is something we don't really know. I do, however, think that if you go around and make like 5 different accounts and play on them all, that there may be some repercussions. I don't think they're going to just outright ban you, but they may go into the route of like removing the gold or something, or like punishing you for like, look, we know you have like 5 accounts, reduce it to like 2 or 3, or you know, that's not the intended way. Or at least I don't think that Smilegate intended for people to make multiple mass accounts in order to kind of like bypass the weekly limitations of the gold earnings. Because you can always make more alts, and obviously in a free-to-play game making more accounts is not a problem, but they could just like allow more Epona tokens or make them character bound instead of account bound.
I mean, I can give you as a tip, if you really wanted to do that, more life skill energy, more component tokens or whatever, you just make a character on another server. It's all separate, rather than making multiple accounts, which might, you know, potentially break TOS. You could just make them on a different server, and it achieves the same exact effect. Even for PvP smurfing, it's the same thing. Different servers, completely disconnected from your main server.
Yeah, that's also
it's all cross-server auction house, and you could technically send the gold to yourself through that.
I was about to ask, can you actually mail to your different
Not
to
mail,
different servers?
no. You would have to list it and pick it up yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, you sell an item on a server, some expensive stuff.
Yeah,
and you just-
because that's cross-server, okay. But
Right.
yeah, that's actually something I didn't think about, because that kind of undermines the whole idea that it's possible, and I don't think it's an overlook, or that they didn't catch this by design. So I think you're fine in that regard, unless you're like really spamming 10 accounts, which obviously is physically not possible for players. I don't think having 2 or 3 accounts. I also have 2 accounts in Russia, for that matter. So
I mean,
I don't think it's.
I've created 9, but I'm not playing them actively, of course. But like you can create as many as you want. You just make email addresses on mail.ru with the same phone number. I have like 20. All my friends are also the same phone number as I have. But okay, one other question I wanted to ask. Why no Arcana in Destroyer? I don't believe it's about balance, because you know we have Gunlancer. So sorry, Gunlancer. No,
Gunslinger.
Gunslinger, yeah. So I don't think it's about balance, but maybe I'm wrong. I want to hear your thoughts on why no Arcana in Destroyer specifically.
I'm not sure Gunslinger. Yeah, go on.
No, I just want to say they're not that broken.
I don't think it's about it being broken. Well, there was that little period, you know, as Saintone said, about Destroyer identity doing pretty much as much damage with an M1 that classes were doing with the entire Awakenings. I guess it was a little bit of a brief period that Destroyer was busted as hell. I think, what was the post exactly that they said? A quote-unquote, "We decided to have these come later due to tweaks and balance issues, upcoming class changes and localization work." And I think the upcoming class changes is probably the key word here, especially for Arcana, because when was the last time that Arcana, for example, got a really big revamp? I think it was over a year and a half ago when they changed Dark Resurrection from a red skill to a yellow skill. I think that's kind of it, and then they just left Arcana more or less untouched for a very long time. And it's pretty clear that they were trying to do something with Destroyer over the past few months, and just trying to, you know, change things up a little, open up new playstyles, see what they can do with the class. So I think for these base classes that would have been there from the beginning, I think it's, you know, either reworks or Kiara's trying to experiment with what exactly it is that they want to do with it. Is my take.
Mm-hmm. What about why no Lance Master, for example?
Yeah, that I don't know. It's strange that, you know, we're getting Gunslinger and Striker, but we're not getting, you know, Reaper and Lance Master, for example. We're getting Holy Knight, for example, but it's a bit weird in what order it is that they're releasing classes on. I think that Gunslinger and Striker in particular they're around because of the whole gender lock thing.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
know that the West doesn't like gender lock, and I agree with it. So if they're just showing, look, eventually there are going to be classes that are going to be breaking the gender lock. Hopefully, people are going to be a little bit more interested in the game. Oh, eventually this class is going to come out. Mayo Summoner is going to come out. I would just start building some gold or stop playing the game now to prepare for it, and then they kind of get hooked. So I think that may be why they pick these classes. I can't really say as to why Holy Knight got picked. I think that may be
I think it's
because
the
they
same
wanted
reason. I think it's so that people who like playing support have
Yeah.
a male and a female
Yeah.
option.
You're
Yeah.
right, actually. Yeah, I was also thinking if they hold back Destroyer, then Warrior would only have 2 classes if they don't release Holy Knight. So unfortunately, it's what happened with the mages, which makes me very mad. But I think you're right.
I think there's only like a few combinations that could work out unless they would release like the entire cast of classes that have available. So there's natural like some classes will get the short end of the stick, and the other ones are like more prone to be. I wouldn't say released earlier or have like more dominance. I kind of agree it's a bit weird that we have like 4 hunter bases, even though the gender lock kind of makes sense. But they like they could remove artillerist or something, right? They could just not release that and push in another
Ooh.
mage or something. So I mean, obviously everybody has a different taste for class, and I don't know the exact statistics. I think Arcana is one of the least played classes to begin with.
Yeah, I think
So I
it
think
is, yeah.
that's what they're trying to achieve with that kind of.
Yeah, but
I wouldn't necessarily
important
say it's like a
category.
balance thing, but like a more make the class interesting. Try not to make it broken as Destroyer, because obviously when Destroyer was literally destroying everything, a lot of people bandwagon on it. But that's not a healthy kind of switch, because everybody knew that this is going to be taken away, and ever since that, Destroyer kind of like vanished from the surface again. So this is obviously not the ideal situation, but I do think that at least in terms of Arcana and Destroyer, they're trying to achieve something more interesting so that it would actually appeal to the players. And I think Lance Master is probably, this is just like a well out of my ass taking guess, that I think they don't like the idea that Lance Master is in every equalized combination of things, or a lot of the times. Lance Master is like one, if not the top pick for any equalized PvE content.
No, Lance
They
Master,
may have taken a gripe on that.
Lance Master S tier in everything, like absolutely.
I don't
Even-
think she's S tier in everything, but in equalized content, she's just insanely good. So I think they may have just, wanting to push her down a little bit that route, because in normal PvE they buffed her considerably because she wasn't as good as people made her to be. Like, she wasn't bad, but not really SSS tier. But I think that's going into that direction. I think PvP also plays a role, but I gotta admit though, which is gonna hurt Lin-0 and me, I think even though they said they're gonna work more on PvP, I still think it's like a 10% of their energy is spent onto PvP, and the rest is going into the PvE direction.
Yeah, it's a back burner. It's definitely the back burner. There's a reason why they're releasing all the raids and all these different PvE focus patches. A lot of the PvP patches that we've gotten are very small, like 8% damage reduction on Moonlight Sonic, 12% damage reduction on Phoenix. They're very minor changes. Zerka, slight gain gauge, probably because of the tiebreaker patch that they came out. So I think they may do some changes, and they may focus a little bit on PvP, but that's going to be next year after Royal Road's 2nd edition kind of comes along, and they have a little bit more data from that. But regretfully, I think PvP is a little bit in the back burner when it comes to balance and decisions to bring classes in. It's a PvE game primarily, and PvP is great and it's equalized, but it's not the focus. So I think that they're going to want to get these decisions to include classes is probably because of PvE, not so much PvP.
What do you think, Saintone, about future releases of classes? So we have 6 classes that are missing. Do you think the next class is going to be in 2 months and it's going to be an Arcana or a Lance Master, or how do you think it's going to be?
I think the cadence for it will be maybe 1 class every like 3 months. That's pretty close to what you see in other regions that expedite classes out to everybody. So it's probably a good guess that within 3 months we'd get our first class, but the question is, would it be Lance Master or not? Because historically, in every region before NA and EU, Lance Master was always the first class to be released. But we don't know if that's going to be the case in NA and EU, because NA and EU it's all over the place with what the initial cast is. I mean, Gunslinger was the 19th class in Korea, and NANEU is starting with it now, so it's really hard to tell if the order of classes that NANEU will receive will be the same. I mean, there's a ton of people that are waiting on Reaper. They want to know when Reaper will come out for NANEU, and that kind of thing. We know class releases tend to be a marketing thing, so will they wait for the peak season to release a class like Reaper or Sorceress that just so many people are waiting on them, when the most amount of people will play and the most amount of money can be made, as opposed to maybe putting something that's a little less desirable or a little less interesting to people in the mid months between summer and winter.
Mm-hmm. So you're guessing a 3-month interval. That would be, let's say, 18 months to add all of the classes.
I mean, at which point Korea will have more classes, but yeah.
I was thinking more of a 2 months, so we can catch up in a year, let's say, because obviously I believe people, especially if we get this revised version of content, this tier 1 revised thing, then that's gonna be quite fast paced in terms of how fast you gear up. You need also, I think we talked about it over Discord also, you need also Rohendale straight from the get-go, so you can access the other Chaos Dungeons with this revised thing. So I guess we're gonna have to see after the beta build, right? Because the beta build
The beta will tell everything.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I wanted to do 2 more things during this show. One of them, I gave you a link there on in the Discord group chat. One of them is a PvP tier list that was created by one of the pro players in Korea. He was part of the team who won actually the first Royal Raiders tournament, which is the esports PvP. So I just wanted just really quickly to go over it, because I just want, I'm also going to show it on the screen, but I'm going to show it actually in post. Maybe Wilky, actually, you can show it to the stream also.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm just going to put it on stream for the people listening in.
So my question, especially to Lin-0 with this, is that I know you loved it. I saw your comment under the video. This was it, and it was great content, by the way. Such a fantastic idea for these people like Canon, for example. Kudos to him to interview good players from Korea, right? Obviously in Korea, a different mentality compared to what is happening in the West. It happens in many other esports games where the Westerners might pick heroes or classes that are different or play them differently. Not to mention the fact that we're not getting very many of these classes, and I just wanted to say that if for example we're not getting a Scouter or a Lance Master from the get-go, which are in S tier and might cause problems to other classes in other tiers, for example, they're countering them very well, then maybe there's gonna be a lot more Berserkers in Grandmaster. And what I want to clarify with this PvP tier list is the fact that I personally believe, and please correct me, Lin-0, if I'm wrong, I personally believe that very many classes in A tier, Typhoon's A tier, will find it very easy to be in Grandmaster rank in the first 30 spots. And I also believe, and this is the last thing, that some classes in B tier for Typhoon, like for example Berserker, right? Infighter, especially at the beginning of the run for us, will also probably find their way in the first 30, top 30 players. What do you think?
The tier list is very difficult. I think that it's a little bit of a controversial tier list in the sense that most people, they just look at the tier list and they think class strong, class weak. But
Exactly.
there's a lot of caveats that you have to think about this tier list. It's this, and if you actually watch the video, and I would say 1 hour long video, and I know that most people probably didn't actually bother to watch the entire thing, but it's really insightful, and it's something that I definitely recommend doing. Calum put a lot of work into the interview, and it definitely deserves to be watched. And you notice that throughout the tier list, there's lots of comments being made that talk about the class and performance difference at a high and an average level. So you have Destroyer there at B tier, but Destroyer would be S tier, at least high A, if you have Grandmaster, Master tier players working together. If you have that kind of teamwork and coordination in a high rank queue, Destroyer is easily a very, very strong class. On the other hand, you have classes like Hawkeye, which is sharpshooter, and Arcana, who are put in A tier because they're very solid, independent classes. They can play very independently from others, but then they fall off very heavily Master and Grandmaster, and that's something that he says as well. Because then people start playing around you. They gimmick classes, right? So you know what the class does, you know how to counter it, and now you can go against it. So it's important that when you're looking at this tier list, it's not a tier list for strong or weak classes. This is a tier list for solo queue, and it's a tier list for ranked solo queue, which is the most important thing, because I at 2100, 2200 rating, you can be a high diamond master, and your teammates are going to be 800 rating player bronze. And that's kind of how the matchmaking works. It tries to balance out MMR, but it's not always going to be giving you balanced matchmaking. So you may have Master Bronze versus Triple Gold. In which case, the classes that are going to be winning and the classes that are going to be climbing, and what this tier list is for, is which classes are the ones that are going to be doing best at carrying and performing consistently well in uneven games.
Okay,
if you're doing pre-mates and tournaments, that tier list doesn't apply. If you're doing solo queue and it's balanced, all players are bronze, all players are gold, all players are master, or diamond plus, for example, that tier list is not going to apply, because this now you're having a accurate MMR that's based on that skill level. This is a tier list for you are a hard start gold player and you're desperately trying to get to high plat, maybe diamond, and you want the path of least resistance. So these are some of the classes that you're going to be playing.
Okay, so so I have the tier list right now in front of me. I'm covering your camera, so I apologize for that. If we were to remake this tier list just with the classes that we have from the start, you would agree that Bard, Holy Knight are S tier, right?
They should be there. They honestly should be in their own category.
Yeah.
Sports.
Okay. Okay, so
something.
Okay, so then my question is, from this tier, if you said that this is a tier list for solo queue, to play ranked, for people who maybe have learned the game, have learned PvP a little bit, Bard Holy Knight, no doubt, absolutely S tier. I personally wouldn't put Summoner in S tier. I mean, I'm looking at even at the Korean rankings this season, last season even, I have screenshots from last season. The one that's not displayed. I mean, you barely saw a summoner in the top 30, and it's S tier, as if I understand why. I get it why, but it's S tier, and it might give the impression that if you play this class, you're gonna just automatically.
Wilky wants to say something. Let's give it over to Wilky.
No, I was interacting with chat. You go again.
All right, because I was raising your hand.
I was waving at the chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I would, for a new player, you would think that maybe playing Summoner will get you somehow, or it's such a simple class that you can just own on forever, that it's placed in S tier alongside Bard and Holy Knight. Summoner next to Bard and Holy Knight for PvP ranked when it's solo queue. Does it really make 100% sense?
She's really good though. I mean, she does so much damage, and I mean, one of the reasons why she doesn't perform as well in the upper ranks is, there's a lot of people who recognize that she's an incredibly big threat on the field if you let her do her thing, and so a lot of really good classes against her, like Blade, for example, will constantly be oppressing her. But, we're talking about NA and EU, and I really feel like we should establish that and foremost is that it's a new region. And a lot of the meta in these other regions will not apply initially, not even counting the fact that we have a different roster of classes, and so the meta will be slightly different based off of that alone, where you have certain class matchups that won't be present at the start.
Yeah.
I think that Summoner is extremely good, and this tier list being based off of solo queue is kind of orienting more on the classes that have carry potential versus classes that are enablers that do extremely well in competitive play but might not always have reliable, dependable teammates in ranked solo queue. And I mean, that's just a skill that people need to learn, and it's a common complaint from people that are coming into Lost Ark right now is, why is there no pre-made ranked queue? And that's because one of the things that you have to learn is to be flexible and adaptable to whatever teammates the game gives you on a game-by-game basis. It's a very important skill to be able to learn to play with any other class and any other person. and these are some of the classes that are very good no matter what their team comp is.
So you would
Yeah.
so both of you would leave Summoner in S tier next to Bard and Holy Knight.
It's complicated, is what I would say. It's complicated. So, for example, I also posted some little images here in the chat. As you said, Siwo, you're looking at the rankings, at top 30, top 50, top 100 even, and you notice that the class presence, especially for the leftmost class, the class that most people play, is kind of strange. It doesn't really line up with the tier list at all, right? Holy Knight is S tier. Why the hell are there 0 Holy Knights in top 50? 0 Holy Knights in top 50, and that's an S tier class. Meanwhile, you have Reaper, who we call C tier. That's probably the one placement that I very strongly disagree with. Even Reaper, who's in C tier, has at least one presence in top 50 KR.
But by the way,
that's the thing. It's like
just want to say, looking right now at the past season in Korea, the top 30 rankings, I can see that there were two Holy Knights in the top 30.
Yeah, the statistic that I'm giving you is not at the end of last season. It's something a little bit more recent. Is statistics. So I have two statistics here that I posted here in the chat. One is was roughly late June, top 50 queue, and then the one from Raytail that he posted was, I believe, late July. And these are the statistics of the top 50 and the top 100 classes that I have here. And because there have been lots of balance changes, April especially, the April patch changed a lot of things for classes. It was what took Gunslinger from being god tier, literally one-shot people with target down, to actually being a little bit more reasonable. And even then we got another patch recently that removed her sliding pod, which brought her more in line to be a reasonable class, right? So balance changes are always happening. That's also one of the dangers about talking about tier lists, is we're talking about tier lists here, what's going to be strong in E, what's going to be strong in A. The tier list from the data was published is not even the same anymore. Things have changed. Patches have come out, and patches are probably going to continue to be coming out. By the time we actually have the release, and the patch that we're going to be in may be quite different from the balance patches that Korea is in currently, or maybe a previous balance patch from before that tier list, or maybe a later one. So it's really difficult to debate. And the biggest thing about the tier list that I did want to say is, again, you weren't seeing many summoners in top 50, for example, and that's a good reason. As Saintone was saying, don't let the summoner free cast or you lose. It's literally that win condition. If you're fighting against a summoner, is you kill the summoner, you farm the summoner. They don't have as much self-peel as other classes. Similarly, if you have a summoner on your team, your win condition is protect the summoner. They just land the Phoenix, you win, easy. And then that's the thing that I think that the tier list is based on, right? If you're at gold, for example, and you're trying to climb, summoner is a very simple class to climb, because you just have to land your Phoenixes, and she's a very domineering class that's relatively easy to pick up. Whereas, you have a class like Reaper, where you might need, or Battlemaster, for example. I think I really want to drive the point of Battlemaster, especially given her recent changes. It's a class that has put in a lot of effort to get fewer rewards, and she's very complex to play. So even if she can do well in the hands of a very skilled player, when you're trying to climb in that kind of, getting to Diamond, getting to that rank, it's I think that the tier list that he's put has that in mind, right? You're not looking, these are the strongest classes, these are the best classes.
It's hard to make a tier list. I mean,
it
there's
is
basically
so
a tier list for every bracket of player skill.
Exactly, yeah. So it's really difficult. Like, how many bards and Holy Knights there in top 50 compared to how many, as we're saying, how many infighters there are, for example, because there's lots of infighters in top 100 Korea, which is kind of interesting, because infighter is generally considered to be one of the classes that probably might need some tune-ups. And really, I think as Saintone was saying as well, it's about comps. It's about playing with different classes. Bard fits with any comp, but at the same time you kind of have to carry. If you're getting matched with bronzes and you're a platinum player, then Bard isn't good. But if you're all plat and you're Bard, then it's great. Hawkeye is A tier, but then you get a Hawkeye blaster, artillerist, or Arcana comp, but then you're fighting something like, I don't know, Battlemaster, Blades, Holy Knight, in which case put me in the Battlemaster team, even though Battlemaster is considered B tier, for example, just because the comp works better. So it's really difficult to do tier lists. It's
Okay.
really difficult.
Exactly. That's also my point. Like it's an incredibly hard job to do a tier list in Lost Ark. Not only, I believe, in many other MMORPGs, quite frankly. Not only for PvE, which I believe is impossible, but at least I try to attempt it. But for PvP also, where let's say you can look at how people that play the ranked, which are the ones that are the most hardcore, doesn't matter necessarily how the class balance is on paper. To me, what matters more is the fans of that game mode. How are they doing? What classes are they choosing? Because a class can be OP if nobody wants to play it. I know it should be in some S tier list, but if it's not in the top 30 best players in the highest rank, what does it mean? Some guy didn't play it enough? Maybe not, but some other guy played a lot of Scouter, played a lot of, I don't know, Holy Knight or Lance Master, which are classes that are constantly in the top 30, 5-6 of them, even at that. But regardless, okay, so you're saying that you're gonna, let's just quickly do this tier list, let's say, just with the classes. I have them in front of me for the Western release, just these here. You would leave Summoner in S tier. Am I gonna...
I feel very hesitant in giving opinions about where I think the class are gonna be for NAEU.
Okay.
Especially because it is not even about classes; it's about playstyle. Like everybody is gonna get raw dog by Zerk. I'm sorry, everybody who's new is not gonna understand how super armors work and how the CC system work, and then they're just gonna get shoulder charge and the execution, shoulder charge, mana crash, and then execution. They're gonna die. They're like, this game suck. What the hell? How can Zerka do so much damage? And then they don't understand that. Okay, but you have to play around cooldowns, you have to play around mana. If you interrupt his combo, then you can kind of go in, you can push it around. People are not gonna know that. So all the kind of like the Unger, relatively simple game plan classes like Blaster, for example, Artillerist. It's like, I got Gatling, I'm gonna get stunned, and now I lose 70% of my health. Broken class. What's this? S tier. And then realistically, you can kind of PO Blaster off. Unless they have a Bard, it's relatively easy to interrupt the Blaster combo, right? So it's really difficult because the meta in NAEU is going to be a strange mix of veterans from Ru and KR and players who are picking up classes for the first time. So we're really not going to have a tier list or an accurate tier list for a very long time.
And veterans from KR and RU which cannot play their favorite classes, Arcana, Lancemaster, Destroyer, these classes which are very popular. It's gonna be interesting. So okay, so I'm gonna leave, for all the fans who are watching, I will leave this tier list in the form of Bard and Holy Knight in S tier and everyone else in C tier. This is our conclusion, the 4 wise heads of Lost Ark.
I mean, it's all fun and games to be a Bard player until you are, one match away from Master, and then you get 2 bronze players, and you're fighting against 3 golds. Doesn't matter how good of a Bard you are, if you got, 3 golds, you're not gonna be a carry class in Bard, even though Bard is a godlike support. So again, matchmaking is gonna be everything. I think in EUNA is gonna be a little bit better in the sense that it's gonna be very populated at the beginning. Matchmaking wasn't so bad in KR and Russia until the recent, season 3 PvP. So I think we may have classes like Bard and Holy Knight just be very dominant simply because you have ranked matchmaking be accurate to people's ranks, simply because we're gonna have a lot of players. But even the supports, remember, you're a support and it's a 3v3 game. No matter how busted Endom and Rhapsody is on the same kit, your teammates are the ones that are gonna have to be killing people. And if they can't kill people, you're not gonna be winning. So
we're not even going to dare and place a gunslinger in A tier. We're not even going to do that for the fans.
I'm not even going to say, because then it's also going to be, is Gunslinger going to have sliding pod or not? Does Gunslinger have sliding pod? She's pretty strong. She's just kind of really dominant. Does she not have sliding pod? Now it's a little bit more up for debate. So
okay, fine. You know what? I tried.
I don't want to compromise myself here.
You know what? I tried. I really tried to have like a title for this podcast. I wanted to have a fancy title like the Ark class tier list for PvE and PvP, so that people would click it. But of course, there's no such thing happening. Just
PvE no tier list, PvP no tier list.
Yeah, tier lists are not possible.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Okay,
I think the main problem, to just punch into the PvP side of things, is, especially in Russia, is we have so little people playing that we're literally not having enough class representations of everything. Because if you look at Korea, the meta is vastly different, but they also have at least somewhat more players than we do. Because on Russia, I'd say like if you're in an active time, you maybe have like what 30 people rotating around in the queue, maybe 50, but that's probably even a stretch.
If even, and that I think that would be like casual queue. If you're talking ranked queue,
So you have like 1 or 2 players that excel at one class and they suddenly push up a, let's say you have like a really godlike battle master. He can easily be like master rank or even well, not easily, but he could peak in grandmaster rank and suddenly battle master would look good because there's one in the top 50. But if there's like only 200 people in the entire ranked season, then the result is kind of like it's very skewed in the sense that we don't have enough data to really estimate how good or bad a class is performing. I don't know if we ever will have enough people. I do hope that NA and EU is going to be more PvP-esque than Russia, and hopefully also than Korea.
But
That would be my personal wish, but
I think Lin-0 was right, and I also wanted to just conclude this with that kind of point. I believe that berserkers for us in the West are just gonna steam over everyone else. I believe summoners are just gonna get dominated at the back by all the scrappers that are gonna be there. Hawkeyes with hide is gonna be a big problem, especially for the majority of people who are new. You're not really used to hide in Lost Ark, and Hawkeyes being all behind you and shooting from outside of the map and stuff. So yeah, I believe it's gonna be different, but I guess we're gonna see that when we get there. No tier list in this episode of the Ark. It is what it is, my boys. Lastly, I wanted to talk about just like some closing thoughts. Wait, I lost my text here. Where was it? Jesus. Closing thoughts. Yes. Why do you like Lost Ark? And what would be one advice you would give to a new player?
Alright, I guess I'll start this off from the PvP perspective. Is what do I like about Lost Ark? I like the PvP. Who would have thought, you know? So I think if I want to give some advice is PvP in Lost Ark is really fun. It's probably one of the funnest MMO types of PvP that I've ever played. And I definitely recommend check it out. It's perfectly equalized. You don't have to gear up. You just have to. In Russia, it's level 50, but in Korea, that's lower down to level 26. So as soon as you get to Lutheran or Lutera and the NAEU region, you can PvP, and it's great to just get your feet wet and get started and try different classes because the barrier for entry is so low. But the advice that I would give is just be patient. It's very difficult to pick up PvP in this game. There are lots of mechanics, lots of things that they don't really tell you. The way that field of view interacts depending on the different teams, the way that the CC system works, for example, how the different stats influence your skills, or how all the different pods interact with each other. It's all very convoluted and complex. But once you learn to sift through all of the different complexities of the game's PvP, it is probably one of the funnest you ever experience. So give it a go, get your feet wet, but be patient. You get beat up a lot, but once you learn, it will be an acquired taste that you just won't be able to abandon.
Awesome. Saintone.
I like that Lost Ark actually shows upward trends, and the people that are making it actually seem to care about the game. Unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of MMOs, they see very, very sharp decline when they release. A lot of people make these jokes about a game being dead on arrival, or being bound to die or something like that. But Lost Ark, I mean, as people have seen lately, they've just been pushing out better and better updates, and the development team that's behind it constantly shows a lot of care in improving their game, not as a company pushing out a product to customers, but people who actually seem to play their own game and like their own game and constantly make changes. I could go on and on about a lot of the recent things that they did to just make the game better. And so it gives me a lot of faith that they won't give up on the game, and they'll keep pushing out updates to keep growing the game. There's nothing worse than playing an MMORPG that people joke about is dead, or people joke about will die. But I have a lot of confidence that Lost Ark won't die, and that's my reason for liking the game mostly. As far as advice for new players, the toughest hurdle for you in the beginning is knowing what you'll want to play and if you'll even like what you're going to play. And this is from a PvE perspective, mostly on my end. It's not a terrible idea to install and try out the Russian version. You don't have to burn out, but at least to get a feel for 2 or 3 classes that you like. Because regardless of if whatever build of the game that we get in NA and EU, you'll most likely need a few alts. I'm talking like 2 or 3 alts at most. If anyone tells you need like 6 or 7 alts to get by, they're talking out of their ass. Pardon my French there. Yeah, so you just need a few classes. So if you have an idea of a few classes that you like, you'll be set. So just make them your alts. Pick one that you think you'll like, and yeah, just trying the game out will at least get you pointed off in the right direction. And also throw your signal flares.
Okay, that's a good one. So my turn now. We're going like this, right?
Right.
Wait, what do I need to say?
What'd you like about Lost Ark and a piece of
A
advice?
new player advice.
Yes. What do I like about Lost Ark? I like the visual orgy that is Lost Ark with all of the classes. I mean, what don't I like about Lost Ark? This is an easier question. What I like the most about Lost Ark, in my opinion, is actually I like I like the things that Saintone also likes. The fact that the game is being taken care of by the devs. For me, this is a reassurance that we're always going to have something to play, coming from past games that have been abandoned, in my opinion. Or maybe I'm just old, still at 21 though, but maybe just old. I don't like to commit to spend so much time to games that I don't see a potential in, a future in. And with Lost Ark, every time I've logged into the game, on top of the fact that I've always seen something nice and new and fresh in the game, I never felt once that I have to log in today to do my dailies or to do my raids or to play another character. Or it was never a have, it was always a want. I always wanted to play. I wanted to be done on Summoner so I can jump on Artillerist, right? Not that I like Artillerist more, it's just that in general I just like the game, and it's the only game that I have played besides my first year in Aeon back in 2009. But since then, it's the only game I've played that makes me want to have fun, and I have fun in it, and I don't have to do anything. And as an advice to people, prepare your wallet. No, I'm joking. As an advice to people, I would say don't play after a spreadsheet. Never do that. Don't do have-tos. I have to today do 3 dailies, otherwise my progression is going to be slowed down compared to... It might suck if you... I'm not gonna say that. Don't play after a spreadsheet. Play what makes your life fun. If you feel like today you just want to PvP and you don't want to do any raiding, any dungeons, do that. If you feel like today you just want to go out on the sea and get some pirate coins or whatever sea events, or roleplay or take selfies, just do that. Eventually, at the end of the day, Lost Ark is much more about being longer in the game, more of a marathon than a sprint to catch the latest boss on the spreadsheet, because otherwise you're not going to get your mats from there or your daily tokens or whatever. Play to have fun is my advice. Wilky, you're next.
All right. I agree on pretty much everything else that has been said, but
It's hard to be last.
I don't really mind. For me, the main reason I actually stuck with Lost Ark after trying it was partially because what Saint said, that I started back in season 1 when I wouldn't say the game was dog shit, but it was in an atrociously bad state compared to what it is now in. So there was a very good shift in terms of how the game is now being steered in a very good direction. But for me personally, the main reason I still play is that, at least to some extent, the game respects your time. You can actually get somewhere in this game without swiping and also not having to spend 8 to 10 to 12 hours every day grinding in this game. Like, obviously it's an MMORPG, right? So playing 10 minutes every day, you're not really gonna do anything. But if you're like playing 15 hours a week or 20 hours a week, you're still significantly enough to enjoy most of the content, albeit at a slower pace, which is natural for MMORPGs. But when I started playing Lost Ark, I was like literally playing 3 to 4 hours on the weekend, and during the week it was like more like half an hour and maybe 1 hour during the week times. So I started off really slow and reached endgame in about 3 months of catching up, which was a surprise to me that I actually got closer to existing players. Like, I was new to the game. Season 1, Season 2 changed. I was kind of flabbergasted because I had no idea. Suddenly you couldn't reroll stats anymore in the accessories. How do I gonna get the stats now? Where are my Sicilian's orders? Where's Platinum Field? Where's Q? How do I get gold? All of this was kind of new to me. And then I kind of like gotten around, okay, it's like Chaos Dungeons, the name of the game, Guardian Raids, and then Eponas. And I was like, okay, cool. I can kind of play like on and off the game and still go somewhere. And then when I actually reached, I caught up to players by the end of Tier 2. So when Peyton was in full swing and we got like the Artifact Seaguard set and like 2K specialty builds and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I actually managed to reach endgame. Obviously, this was only one character. By the time veterans had like 3-4 alts, also geared up to 1050, and farmed like quadruple my amounts of gold. But I actually managed to get to endgame in a, I would say, real-life friendly manner, where if you have a family, if you have a life, or if you simply don't want to spend your entirety of free time in a game, you still actually get to enjoy a fully fleshed out MMORPG. Maybe not to 100% with all the intricacies. You're not going to cap on 100% Mokoko seeds, maybe. You're not going to cap out every consumable collectible. But you get to play the content pretty much everybody else is going to play. If you just want to jump into PvP, all you need is a level 50 character, maybe in the future a lower level one. And I think that's a very good thing that they managed to strike a balance, because if you want to know Life Lost Ark, you can. You just need a sufficient amount of alts and you can sink your entire life into it. One character, that's probably going to be difficult. But you can still go somewhere in this game with a relatively decent amount of time spent.
And what's your advice?
So that's why I love it. And my new player advice would be, don't throw your character away until it's level 50 and you spend 1 or 2 days trying out end game content. Like, so many classes feel so atrociously bad at early levels. I cut on that earlier with the Scrapper part. But Lancemaster, probably everything else, outside of Berserker, every class that I played during the level period was boring, and it kind of felt like, this is not really interesting. And then suddenly, when it's like level 50, you got your Awaken skill, you got your Awakening, it's like you flip a switch, and the class suddenly works like entirely different. You have Exoswing Engravings and stuff like that. So as a new player, I would say, stick to one class, unless you really hate every bits and piece of that class. Play it until level 50 and try out a Guardian Raid, try out a Chaos Dungeon, and if you still don't like it, then just reroll. But don't discard a class before you actually got to level 50 and played at least 1 or 2 days worth of content there.
Nice. So you have 4 pieces of advice for people who like Lost Ark, telling you why they like it. This was everything, I guess, for today's episode. Over an hour and a half, which was very well spent in my opinion. I'm gonna do the intro in the outro, because that's how we do it on my channel. This above me again, I'm gonna start, and I'm not gonna forget Saintone. Above me is Lin-0. You can find him on YouTube, you can find him streaming. I will have his links in the description below. Fantastic videos he has on PvP content, especially. So well explained, so much effort with friends being there on top, left, right, so he can show how you see other people in PvP. Who cares? Get the 21:9 screen. That's the solution for PvP. Then right there in the corner, top right corner, you have Saintone. Oh my god, where do I even begin with this guy? I mean, one of my absolute favorites in terms of Lost Ark content creation. In his words, he said he's me only on Twitch. So he's like the grandmaster of Twitch Lost Ark. Very, very lovable guy, very nice person. A lot of endgame content you can find on his stream. I'm going to link his stream also in the description below, and his YouTube channel as well. And right here you have Wilky. He has amazing guides, which I always watch before talking about the topic, because I need to stay informed from Wilky on what's happening before I talk about the sea and water content and all sorts of other things in the game. Super, super nice guys. Again, very well explained. Some of my favorite content creators here. I'm going to link Wilky's YouTube channel. He's also streaming. He was streaming, by the way, this podcast on his Twitch channel. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Like, for real.
Thanks for having us here. It's an honor.
Maybe we can get to do this again.
Thanks for organizing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
After
Everybody
organize the
making
whole
the
thing.
time.
After-
Despite, yeah, go ahead.
Now, I want to say that after the beta, when we get to play the beta and we have it here in the West and get to have our impressions on it, maybe we can do one more so we can talk about it like right after it ends. That would be nice for the people also to see some impressions of players who have played Lost Ark in the past. What are we getting? How are we getting? How did we feel about it? That would be really nice in my opinion.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, guys. Love. Thank you, guys.
Thanks a
Totally
lot.
down. Have a great
Thanks for
evening.
having us.
Good night.
Thank you, guys.